All right, welcome everyone. Okay, this particular video is on factoring quadratic expressions, so let's go ahead and begin. Okay, the first thing that you're going to see is there's some vocabulary review. So hopefully you know how to do this. And what they're having you start off doing here is they're having you make a factor tree. So they're breaking down 24, and remember you're breaking down till these are all primes, and then also 54, so there's a couple of those. The reason for doing that is because factoring is very important in factoring quadratic expressions, of course. They give you the main idea, they give you the definition and an example. So what we're going to do is we're going to take an expression and we're going to break it down into its factors. Factors mean something multiplied times itself, okay? The next thing they have you do here, and you can go through this on your own, circle the prime factors of 24xy. So they have you do that, and then circle the 20 prime factors, of 54a squared b. So again, something you can do on your own. So we're just going to go to the next part. Okay, so we're just going to jump here. And the first method we're going to use is we're going to be factoring ax squared plus bx plus c when a is equal to either positive or negative 1. I'll be honest, I mostly only do positive 1. I don't do negative ones. But we're going to go through that, so let's go ahead and get started and knock this out. Okay, so for number 1, the first thing you want to do is you basically want to work through some problems, okay? And so I think I'm going to go to a separate sheet, and we're going to knock out a couple of examples. So the first thing, I'm just going to add a page. Let's do a new page. Okay, I know I can do it. I just haven't done it in a long time. Let's add a blank page right after where we are. Okay, so our first example is going to be, so this is going to be example 1. I'm going to make this a little thinner because it's easier to see. Okay, and so what we're going to do is we're going to work with x squared plus 9x plus 20. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is, this is how I was taught when I learned to do it. So the first thing you do is you pay attention to that sign right there. If it's a plus, it means the signs are the same. Let me fix that. There we go. Okay, there we go. If it's a plus, the signs are the same. Same signs. If it's a minus, they're different. And when I talk about the signs, I mean the ones in the parentheses, okay? Okay, so keeping in mind, here we go. If they're the same, this tells me what they are. Okay? And so here we're going to factor, we need factors of 20. And since they're the same, that means we're adding to get the middle term. And if they're different, we're subtracting to get the middle term. Okay? To get middle. All right. So what I normally do is, and I've always done it this way, I list out my factors off to the side. So I have 1 and 20. I have 2 and 10. 3 doesn't go into 20 evenly. 4 and 5. And the next one's 5, so I'm there. I list mine all the time like this. In the book, they list them as a table, so that's totally up to you. Now, I need to look at this, and I want to find okay, before I do that, x squared factors into x and x. So that's easy. The signs are the same, which means they're both plus, so I'm going to put the plus. I normally, if they're different, I place the signs last. That's just me. But there's nothing special about that. Now, look at your set of factors here. Factors of 20 that add. Now, that means they multiply to get 20, but they add to get 9. And you'll see it's 4 and 5. So here we have 4 and we have 5. Okay? And that's how you do that. Now, let's do another one. We're going to call this 1A, where, whoops, I didn't want to go that far. The factors are different. Now, this should be a review, so that's why we're not spending a whole lot of time on it. And this one, let's do x squared plus 14x minus 72. Now, notice this is minus, so that means they're different. That means they subtract to get 14. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. And I know x squared factors into x and x. There's nothing special about that. Okay, so factors of 72. I have 1 and 72, 2 and 36, 3 and 12. Then the next one should be 4. And this is where you pull out your trusty calculator if you don't know, because sometimes, I'll be honest, have not a clue. So let's do 72 divided by 4, and it turns out it's 18. Okay, so 4 and 18. 5 will not go into that evenly. I'm just cleaning it up so you can read it. 6 will, so 72 divided by 6. That's 6 and 12. 7 will not go into that evenly. 72 divided by 8 is 9. So then we have 8 and 9, and then 9 would be the next one. So those are your factors. Now, that's how I do it, and I make sure I get all the factors. So now what I'm looking for is I need factors of 72, which I have listed here, that have a difference or that I can subtract to get 14. And that's going to be this set right here. So I'm going to place a 4 and I'm going to place an 18. This is an example of me placing the signs last. I need to get a positive 14. So that means the plus is going to get, the 18 is going to get the plus, and the 4 is going to get the minus. Okay? And so that's pretty much how that works out. Okay? And then one more we want to do, and then we'll go back to our handout. And let's call this 1B. And then what we want to do here is we're doing one with a negative in front. Again, I don't normally do the ones with negatives in front. I try to write them so that they don't have that. So this is this is new for me, kind of interesting. So what they have you do is they do what I probably would have done. They factor out a -1. So you're going to have -1 times x squared minus 13x plus 12. So basically, what does that mean? I'm now working with it. Let's see, we took the negative out, so it's plus. I took the negative out, so it changed all the signs. So I'm going to have -1, and I'm going to have 2 parentheses. Again, x squared cancels into, factors into x and x. I need factors of 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. The signs are the same, so again, I am adding factors of 12 that will get me 13. Well, that's going to be those right here. So I'm going to have a 1, and I'm going to have a 12. Now, since the signs are the same, this middle term tells me what they are, so they're both going to be minus. Okay? And so I have that, and there you go. So -1 times x minus 1, x minus 12. Okay? So now what we're going to do here is we're going to go back to our handout and walk through that for you. Back this way. Okay? So, and, oh, we'll go to the next page. Okay, so then here you go. So they're having us do the same thing, only now here we have factors of x squared plus 14x plus 40. Okay, so we have 1 and 40, 2 and 20, and then we have 3 goes into that, no, 4 and 10, and then 5 and 8. Okay, and so now complete the table, which we did. So when you add these, you get 41, 22, 14. Sorry, I'm at school. And this one is 13. Now, notice they tell you the signs were the same, so I'm adding to get 14. So the one that works is this one right here. So, and they both get what sign? They get a plus. So then which one gets it? It's going to be this one right here. Okay? Let's do that again. We're going to do the same thing, only now they have you filling in some of the words. Okay? Please feel free to pause whenever you need to. Okay, so here, in order to factor this, I need to find factors that multiply to get 30, and they add, because this means they're the same, to get -11. Okay, at least one of the factors that sum to -11 must be positive. As it turns out, this is a plus, so they're both, must be negative, they're both negative. The two factors that multiply must both be negative, because a negative times a negative is a positive, but when you add them, they're going to be negative. Okay? And so the factors of 30 that sum to -11, you look at all of these and you should get that one. So then when you factor it, what are you going to put? Now, I've seen people do this. This is where people actually do it, and they put the signs in as they do it. So minus 5, minus 6. Okay? This one, pretty much the same as what we did. You want to rewrite the expression. So negative 1 times x squared minus 14x minus 32. So you're going to subtract factors of 32 that have a difference of 14. Okay? So the first thing I would do is I'd start listing my factors. And so you should finish that up. Then pick out the ones that work, and then you want to write the factored form. So please make sure you do that. And so it says, which of the factors has the greater absolute value? Then you should figure that out. That just seems, all they're trying to do is get you to understand the reasoning behind why we're doing what we do. Okay, so we're going to go to the next example. Okay, so for this one, they want you to find a GCF, so greatest common factor. Okay, and so what you're doing is you're actually breaking it up. So here's what you do. They have 7n minus 21. So you're going to do 7n squared, and you're going to do 21. So 1 times 7 times n times n. And then this one, your factors are 3 and 7. So what is the greatest common factor? It's 7. Or GCF, that's what GCF stands for. So it's 7. So I'm going to pull a 7 out here. And then what's left on the first row? N squared. And what's left in the second one? 3. That's how you get that. Okay? So again, I know students that I had in after you saw this already. Okay, and then the last example we want to do, well, one of the last examples we want to do is factoring when A is not 1. This is the one that most people struggle on because you have to worry about these factors as well as this one. So I'm going to walk you through it. Okay, and so what they have you do is, the first thing they have you do is identify this number, so 4, and this number is 3, and when you multiply it, you get 12. So then what you do is you get factors of 12 that add to get 7. So that's how you do that. And I started doing that last year, and I think it's very helpful. So we have factors of 12. Now, we've done 12 before, and that's the nice thing. Whoops. Once you've done them once, you kind of start to remember them. So then you have 1 and 12. You have 2 and 6. They write them across. I like them this way because to me it's easier to pay attention. And then which one adds? It's this one right here. And then you're going to use that in order to write your factoring. So here we're going to have 4x and 3x, and that came from this 3 and that 4. But you just put an x because you have to add them to get 7x, okay? So then if you do this and you break out a GCF, you're going to end up with, if you take 4x out, you have x plus 1. If you take everything out, there's a 1 there. You have to do that. Okay, and then this one is going to be 3x plus 3. Here's the 3x, here's the 3. Here's the 4x squared and the 4x. And then when you take a 3 out of there, you end up with x plus 1. These two parentheses are the same. So the 4x plus 3, 4x plus 3 goes out in front, and then what's left in the parentheses. And that's how you do it when the factors, when A is not 1. Okay? And again, this should be a review. Now, what you want to notice here, perfect square trinomial, what you should notice here is that all of these are perfect squares. Okay? 64x squared, and then 16, and then 1. And so in order to factor it, the signs are the same and they're both minus. So therefore, it's this one. And if you don't remember, it's a minus b quantity squared is a plus b, a minus b. Okay? So hopefully most people will remember this as you go through. So perfect square here is 8. Perfect square here is 1. Okay? And then you write 2acx. So this is 8, and you're going to write it here. And this is 1, and you're going to write it here. So when you write it, it's 8x minus 1 quantity squared. Okay? And that's how you write a perfect square trinomial. Again, hopefully all of this is review because you actually have covered this before. And then this part is just going through and do you understand? Do you get the process? Um, so hopefully you can figure that out. And if you can't, or you want to check it when you see me in class, please do that. And then here, check off, do you understand what factor of an expression means? Do you understand what perfect square trinomial means? And do you understand the difference of two squares? Okay? Because that's what this is. This is difference of two squares. Okay? And so then kind of rate yourself. So that actually takes care of the video, and I will see you on the next one.